A Pittsburgh synagogue devastated by a mass shooting is looking to rebuild itself for a brighter future. You may remember that a hate-filled gunman stormed into the Tree of Life Synagogue during Saturday morning services almost 3 years ago. 11 people were killed and 6 others hurt. Now, one of the world's best-known architects aims to transform the site of tragedy into a place that inspires hope. Our Jim Axelrod spoke with the architect and the congregation's rabbi. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, and it was a deep and meaningful conversation, Anthony. The architect, the rabbi, and every member of the Tree of Life congregation are being guided by 3 words as they try to plan a way forward for the scene of this unspeakable horror. Remember, rebuild, and renew.
Yes, this is Daniel.
In Pittsburgh, the architect Daniel Libeskind is beginning his latest project. Like so much of his other work, this one, too, is rooted in devastation.
You walk through a site of murder, of a mass murder, of the greatest attack on Jews in this country.
Libeskind, who navigated complex emotional terrain designing the Ground Zero site and the Jewish Museum in Berlin, will now lead the rebuild of the Tree of Life campus, closed since the shooting on October 27, 2018, when a hate-filled gunman murdered 11 and injured 6 during Shabbat services.
It's not just a walk through disaster. You walk through the memory of what happened, and you think of the significance. What will this mean? What does it tell us?
Libeskind, the son of Holocaust survivors, recently made his first trip to Pittsburgh to meet with Rabbi Jeffrey Myers and members of the congregation.
The drawings are done here. My father did the drawings.
Examine artifacts of the day and begin to consider a way forward.
How do you decide whether you knock it all down because it's just too full of horror?
You have to walk through and imagine where are the traces of importance on the site. What is not just salvageable, but inspires us still? And how do we document the past as it unfolds to a brighter future?
It's a delicate balancing act, marking trauma while wrestling hope from the pain.
One of the, if not the governing principles, will be making sure everyone is reminded that there is more light than darkness.
That's absolutely true. Light has to be the message of the place, because we do live in darkness a lot of the time, and we saw the darkness and the evil of the events that befell on this congregation. But I think a building has to do something else, has to give you a sense of inspiration, a breath of life.
And there's an excitement of, wow, we can't wait to see what this will become.
Rabbi Myers took us for a walk past the site.
They have optimism for a bright future.
Pointing to artwork sent from around the world, including students at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
That hope can come out of the horror of what happened at that school. To me, that's just incredible.
It's provided inspiration about a direction for the project.
I've come to learn that through 2.5 years, through letters, emails, cards, phone calls from people around the world, complete strangers. There's this vast silent majority out there in the world who are good, decent people. Yeah, the time has come that the silent majority become a vocal majority to say to the rest of the world, this is unacceptable.
You cannot deny what happened on that site. You have to be able to integrate it in a meaningful way.
While it's early in the process, Daniel Libeskind, Rabbi Myers, and the Tree of Life community are beginning to frame a mission, building a beachhead in the battle between tolerance and hate.
What stories will you be telling with the design and construction of the site at the Tree of Life?
The Tree of Life will not be my story. It will be the story of the people who were there on that day. It'll be the story of beauty, of fatality, of death, but also of rebirth, of renewal, of inspiration.
As Daniel Libeskind knows all too well from the complex challenges his other projects have presented to him, it takes time to figure out the right balance between remembering, rebuilding, and renewing. We're told the design process is expected to be completed and ground should be broken by early next year.
Yeah, I love the message. Light has to be the message of the place.
So that was, to me, the most moving part of the whole interview. When Rabbi Myers, you could hear his voice in the last bite of the piece there, that there is a silent majority of good, decent people that need to become a vocal majority. This campus, the Tree of Life campus, needs to be the place where that idea can take root.
What they say at the Tree of Life itself already is more light equals more life.
Yeah. Well, and if Daniel Libeskind can design a Jewish museum in Berlin, he can.
His work is always about resilience.
Yeah.
Ground Zero as well.
I just think about the strength he must have to constantly be working in the space of all this tragedy and turning it into something hopeful.
So impressive.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jim.